Slept in a little bit. Made some spicy Thai noodles for the week.
Nice.
Turned out pretty good. Played some of that new Crash Bandicoot game that came out.
What are you thinking? Still living up to your previous?
It's I was a little afraid that whenever you make like a sequel like several years down the line, sometimes you lose the magic. But this one's very good. Really holds up.
So what other tags do you think we should have? I've got electronic, but that's it. Dance, maybe?
I think dance applies in some cases. Is there an emo tab? I guess a little emo every now and then.
No, the only thing with emo in it is emote design.
I don't think that's relevant.
No. Alternative?
Yeah, I'd say it falls into alternative.
That's probably enough. I've been watching David Attenborough's new thing just released either today.
Documentary.
Yeah.
What is it? What's it about?
His life, and because he's worked with the environment for his entire life.
He made a documentary about himself.
Well, no, it's just it's just about his experiences.
And
basically, it's called Life on Our Planet, and I think maybe it didn't just come out today. It came out pretty recently. But it's just really depressing, like all of the nature documentaries are these days.
Something. Animal is beauty, but sadly it is going away.
Well, this one isn't even that, because it's literally just talking about him working with the natural world for his entire life, and it's like a 5-minute sequence of him exploring and showing all the beauty, and he's like, but little did I know it was already all dying and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
By the time I was born, there was less than 50% of the world was wild, and the carbon parts per million was already over 350.
Yeah, that's sad.
And at current rate, it's expected that we'll have total environmental collapse by 2100.
Oh, I don't like that.
No. So fun stuff.
We'll probably be dead by then. So go us.
Not a good.
I know. I'm not saying it's a good.
But yeah, very fun. Very fun. Do you know his brother Richard Attenborough was the crazy old guy from Jurassic Park?
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I did not know.
Yeah.
Well, the more you know.
I guess they do kind of look alike, seeing them side by side. Never
vaguely.
The dots.
They're older white men.
Well, facial structure and all that, because they're brothers.
Brother.
But yeah.
Hulk Hogan will save us.
Very fun. And I'm to the point now where it's like, because he finished detailing his life, and he's like, here's what science predicts will happen from this point forward, and it's like super awful, and it's like, here's how we can fix it. And searching to pull up his name to get the name of that movie, one of the articles summarizes my thoughts pretty good, is Life on Our Planet nails the planetary problems but misses the political ones. Like, the things he's listing are like, yeah, we should definitely do that, but there's no political will because they're all terrible people. It's like, oh, we need UN is talking about sectioning off large areas of international waters as preserves. I'm like, great. UN has no power. They're not going to be able to enforce that. And God knows no country's going to enforce that. So it'll be a nature preserve on paper, but they're just going to ignore it. And it's like all these things. It's like we very easily can switch over to renewable resources but the big oil companies, for some reason, think that oil is the future, even though there's very, very little left. It's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, I'm with British Form on this one. It's really goodness.
Papega, yeah.
Well, that's a sad note to start on, but I guess we'll.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Oh.
You feel like talking about music now, then, or?
I guess we can.
Hey, let's do it.
It's only been 5 minutes, though, Cooper. We usually talk for 10.
Well, we started a little later because you're taking the tinkle or something.
Yeah, I had to go to the bathroom.
The little boy's room,
Yeah.
I think is the polite term.
I was taking a dump.
Oh well.
Polite
Oh
term.
man,
I'm a man. I'm a human being, and I'm coming.
I eat.
So welcome back, everybody, to the Audio Shop podcast. This week we are talking about Little Dark Age by MGMT.
MGMT.
And you wanna talk about who they are? They, he,
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. Is it a band? Is it a person?
It is a band.
Okay.
You're correct. It's mostly a duo. Think of it like more like a Steely Dan-esque,
I
right?
see. I thought Steely Dan was one person, but
No, it's but two people.
I
Neither
know
of them
now,
are
I
named
know
Dan. Yeah, MGMT is basically the two core members are Andrew Van Weingarten and Benjamin Goldwasser, or Wasser. I guess it depends on if you want to pronounce it with a German accent. Yeah, and they are a band that was formed in Connecticut in 2002. So they're a turn of the century band, and known kind of for their synthy, psychedelic, indie vibe that they've got going on. Is what kind of their claim to fame.
okay.
They've kind of risen through ranks of the years. Rolling Stones pegged them as a top 10 artist to watch in 2008. Rolling Stones, obviously, no bias in music whatsoever.
Yeah. Number one song of all time, Like a Rolling Stone
Like
by
Bob Dylan.
Dylan.
Bob Dylan's my favorite synth act. They also got nominated for Grammys, for Best Duo, and they've released 4 albums so far since they debuted in 2002. And Little Dark Age, which is the album we're talking about today, is their 4th and most recent album, released in 2018. Which had 4 lead singles, which we'll talk into. And if you want to, Sam, we can just kick it right off.
Sure, let's roll on into it.
With track number 1,
Where's the button?
She Works Out Too Much.
There it is. She works out too much. Sorry. I had it scrolled from a normal spot.
Good unison.
Well, I had to scroll to find, because I had to change all the stuff, right? And I didn't scroll it back to the normal sources, so I couldn't find the visibility button. But yeah, you had already prefaced me, because you suggested this one because you'd been listening to it, right?
Yes, I had listened through it, and I'm like, this is a neat album. We should review it.
And you had prefaced that it was electronica, and I am a big fan of electronica. But
yeah, it's synth. It's electronica,
and it really comes out of the gate swinging, in my opinion, because it's got those dissonant chords that somehow resolve into something pleasant, very, very electronic. And it was just oh, okay, yeah, I'm liking the direction. It comes out like I'm liking where this is going.
Okay, yeah, and like you said, it kind of starts with this very energetic synth and drumming underneath it that just kick it off. It's like a rock and roller coaster, right? It just takes off.
Mm-hmm.
With this kind of female spoken word vocals over it, almost like a workout video vibe to it. That's the name. She Works Out Too Much.
Yeah, it was a little bit odd. It gave a very specific feeling, though.
Yeah, it's going for a mood there. Yeah. And then the male vocals, which are the lead vocals for most of the songs, is like this much more kind of subdued, kind of filter take, which kind of juxtaposes, I guess, the more energetic backing instrumentation.
Yeah, it doesn't have the most going on instrumental on this album, but it's got it's still quite a bit. Electronica has a lot of little things that they throw in there. They tease a little bit of that vocoder. I don't know if you caught it, Coop.
Very slightly.
But it's a really nice vocoder sound that I wish they had featured more, but I can respect that that's not the style that they were going for, because it sounds really good. This one, it started out really good, but then I was starting to kind of be done with the chorus by 2 minutes, and then by 3 minutes, I was like, I'm very much done with the chorus, especially since the chorus is the same thing repeated 4 times.
Oh, you're missing out. This chorus is bumping.
I mean, it's good,
just kind of...
but if you're just sitting and listening to it, right, it was fine initially. But I feel like an inherent issue with what we do is when you sit down and break down the song, you pay a lot more attention to it than you normally would, right? Like normally, if you're listening to music, you don't just sit and stare at a wall and analyze everything that the music is doing. You just kind of have it on while you're doing something else. Or if you are listening to it to relax, you're not analyzing it. You're just you kind of got it on. But it's very repetitive.
I'm not going to say it's super repetitive. I mean, the chorus does repeat a couple times. But at like 2:45, it has like this kind of more stripped back breakdown with more of the female spoken words, like saying the different like working out terms before it like leads back into the chorus in the last bit. Plus, it's got that last bit has some powerful bass lines creep in at the ending, as well as a little saxophone thrown in, which I think is a nice way of breaking it up. Plus, you just got this like chunky, like almost brass synth that leads into every chorus, that I very much enjoy.
Yeah, and then,
so maybe not the most complex song of all time.
No, I mean I still like what it's got going on.
But I like that. I like the core of it so much. Plus, it's got a pretty hilarious concept of a guy getting dumped because he doesn't work out enough.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the concept of being dumped because you didn't do something specifically, obviously there's probably more to the relationship core than just not working out. But that's all that's presented on this song, which makes it hilarious.
Yeah.
And then the song kind of those two storylines of like the female spoken word as like the like fitness instructor and like the story of breaking up kind of intertwines at the very ending when she goes, "Okay, we're done." Like it's the ending of a workout, but also the ending of the relationship, which it adds a lot of character to this song.
It does. And then especially in I love the last minute of it because that really funky sax pops in too. Did you?
Oh yeah, that sax is.
It's so good.
I think it's the only time that sax appears on this album, too.
I believe so. And I really wish it had come in sooner, but it's an amazing way to close out the song.
It leads to a good payoff for the song. Yeah. And I think this was the first single that they released for this album. And it's the first song of their album.
And it's pretty good.
So, yeah. I think it's a really strong lead single and opener to an album. Like I said, there's no time. It takes no time getting up to that energy. It just and then instantly hits it, which I appreciate.
Moving on to track number 2, if you're ready, Coop.
Yep, track number 2, the title track, "Little Dark Age."
That's not Hey Spell Age.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
Unsurprisingly, this was also another single on the album.
The title track.
Wait,
no.
Yeah, I know, right? Confidence. Actually, I was wrong. She Works Out Too Much wasn't a single. I got that mixed around.
Really?
But this was the first single.
Huh.
Yeah, which I was, yeah.
That is surprising because that is a very strong
opener. Yeah, but this one gives off a very different mood. This one, MGMT is kind of, especially with some of their older works, I was looking into it, they dabbled a lot more in kind of this like almost, I'm not going to say emo, but like kind of, more subdued emotionally albums. And that peeks through a lot with Little Dark Age. which has a lot more a darker synth sound, I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a really nice strong bass or bass, however you want to pronounce it.
No one calls it. I love the bass and treble on this one. The treble.
Like bass and treble, like you pronounce treble like treacle, you know, or treacle.
Treacle.
But the really strong bass fits well with the drum kit that they got going on. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of drum kits most of the time, but they have their place. And electronica is definitely their place. It would kind of sound out of place if you had an actual drum. Or I should say, what is it? Drum kit is the actual, what's it called? Drum pad?
Yeah, or like, yeah, I think drum kit's an accurate term.
But that's usually what they call actual drums, though.
Then I guess like an electronic drum pad also works, yeah.
Drum pad, I guess is what it's called. I mixed up my... Oh, I call myself a musical reviewer. And the vocals in this song, I want to say I'm not a fan of, but I actually actively really hate them. It is monotone as all get out. It's ridiculous.
I mean, definitely, yeah. Like, even compared to the first song, this one's a lot more... It kind of reminds me a lot of when we were listening to Foster the People.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot more... I keep saying the word subdued, but, like, not, like, too energetic. Well, maybe emotionally a little less varied.
I can respect the non-energetic part of it. It's just... It's actually... He sings at the same note for every time he's singing. It's the same note. The only variance is sometimes when he gets to a chorus, there is two different notes, but otherwise it is the same note for the entire song, which is not very great. And I think
it's not the same note. It's
pretty. He works within a very close note range.
It is a same note. I mean, it is a subdued it is a shortened note range. But even then, like, it's not like that hemorrhaging of the song. Like, the song already has this kind of lower energy, and I think it plays into that, and mixing with like the kind of repeating back synth chords kind of plays within that theme there.
It's, I don't know, it's the very monotone vocals with the sparse instrumentation, which the sparse instrumentation is not a problem in and of itself, you know. That indicates that there's more focus on the vocals. However, the focus on the vocals in this part is monotone. Like, it's just flat. After the first electronic noise breakdown, they bring another synth in, so they're kind of bringing in more elements. However, after the second electronic noise breakdown, like, all of the instruments drop out for a little bit, and it's just the monotone vocals, which cannot carry themselves for any amount of time. You can make an argument like, oh, you know, it's to build back up, but no, you can't have those vocals alone. They just don't sound good.
Yeah, I mean, the second breakdown, it's a little less great, but like, it's already kind of going for a kind of a spooky, empty vibe. And plus, that only lasts for like 10 to 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Before it, like, breaks into the chorus again with like the stacked instrumentation. Plus, I really like the outro as well. The instrumentation starts jumping around and getting a little more fun and funky.
Yeah, my issue with that is it's 45 seconds. There's 45 seconds of the song left at that point. This is a 5-minute song. The build is way too slow. Like, not slow, but delayed. I feel like they start building after the first 3 minutes. And for the first 3 minutes, it's just kind of flat, like the vocal line.
I mean, yeah, the first half isn't as building, but I see it more as a slow burn. Personally, maybe I'm just giving it a generous reading.
I feel like you are.
But I think it's more of a slow burn, just given the vibe of the song.
Just because it's a slow burn doesn't mean it's not burning down a house.
I'm not sure if that metaphor works in this context.
It doesn't. Jumping
now, Burning Down the House, that's a good song. Yes, track number 3, When You Die, which has a guest feature. It doesn't say it on Spotify, but a guest writer and music producer in the form of Ariel Pink. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him at all, Sam.
Is that Pink?
No, it's not Pink. This is a man.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, no, he's like an electronic like artist, kind of like a lo-fi. But yeah, he's it's like a guest writer on this song, and it's another lead single. Obviously, they brought in a guest writer for this one, and you can kind of tell because this one has like a lot more focus placed on the guitars, as compared to the first two songs.
Yeah, I immediately wasn't a fan because it was the exact same singing style as the last song, which immediately is like, really? Please don't tell me it's just going to keep doing this.
I think you're putting a lot of emphasis on his singing style. I don't think it's as monotone as you're saying it is.
It is pretty damn monotone, Cooper. I bet I could pull out a tuner and it would differ between sharp and flat, and that's about it.
No, he's jumping around a bit more. You're doing a very unfavorable read.
Oh man,
he's singing along with the music. The music jumps around.
The music jumps around a hell of a lot more than his vocals do. His vocals are flat, I will say again. Anyway,
I disagree.
I will say it shows you how flat they are when you get to about 145 when they actually change notes while singing. Which is, it's kind of got this harmony split apart there. And it actually is singing before going back to the monotone style again.
Yeah, it's almost like some Simon and Garfunkel-ish. But I like it as like a breakdown because it's like switching to like a more acoustic side. Besides like the weird-ass laughing that kind of goes throughout this section, I really like it.
Yeah, there was a really interesting distortion on an electric guitar made to sound acoustic. Which was an interesting style choice and produced a very unique sound. Because initially it's like, he's an acoustic guitar, but then you can definitely hear the characteristics of the electric, and they're putting it through a filter. It's like, okay, that's kind of a cool sound because it's the very flat, twangy electric as opposed to the resonant acoustic.
No, I get what you're saying. It's like almost like a electronic song trying to mimic an acoustic song, which leads to this kind of one foot in both door, kind of dreamy, surreal vibe.
And I did that style. It sounded pretty cool.
Yeah. Plus, the bass melody on the song is still like kind of pleasant. That kind of juxtaposed against the actual lyrics, which are actually like pretty mean.
I wasn't listening to what was being said.
And he's telling him to go like F himself, and like when you die, and like talking about all the things.
This was the one marked explicit.
Yes. So kind of an interesting like or like disposition there, but like that with like kind of the sweeter synth melodies. I really dig the instrumentation on this song.
Yeah, it's good, and that fade out was interesting as well.
Oh yeah, it's a pretty long one too, but it really kind of lets you just kind of float off with the rest of the song.
Jump into number 4, if you're ready.
Yeah, it leads into track number 4, Me and Michael, which has some glittering production value. Like goodness, I feel like I'm like a 1998 like pop album.
Yeah, it's very vaporwave inspired.
If you ever listen to the band The Cores, it's like that, but like with an emo filter.
I was digging the style, but I'm a fan of vaporwave.
Oh yeah, it's very throwback. Kind of going for like a nostalgic feel, I feel.
There was one point in the song where they had a sample synthesizer that was doing one of the singers, or I guess the male singer, because that's the only male singer on the album. They had a sample of his voice and were kind of just playing very light chords with it, and it gave me flashbacks to 10cc. I'm Not in Love, you know what I'm talking about? With the vocal sample, and I think that's what they were going for there.
I really like that song too. Yeah, no, like it feels very reminiscent to that it was a very particular style that only happened for like a few years. I feel like late '90s to early 2000s. But they capture it pretty well on the modern take here. Which honestly, I really like the vocal performance on this one. I know you've kind of been ragging on it throughout the album.
This one's better.
But
this one's a lot better.
But the kind of sweetness with like this lush backing brings a very bright mood to the album.
Yeah.
Like the
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just think the first 3 songs kind of had this almost kind of darker undertone, but this one kind of sheds it all just to have a really happy song.
Yeah, it feels very light and airy compared to everything that we've encountered so far. And it's
now.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it feels more. This one for sure is very much less about what's being said and more about the kind of the feel, not even how it sounds, just the feel of the words.
It's actually funny you brought that up because I was looking it up and apparently the song was originally going to be called "Me and My Girl," right? Okay. And they're talking. They're like that's like the most generic thing you could call a song. Like let's just call it "Me and Michael," like we're singing about me and my friend Michael. So they did.
So did they say "Me and My Girl"? Because I definitely heard Michael. I thought.
No, it's me and Michael. Originally, it was going to be me and my girl.
Okay. So they
just changed my girl to Michael.
As well. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's got I really like the vibe that it's going for. And then right in the last minute, there's that saw wave synth that comes in as the main instrumental line, and that was great. That was the perfect way to close it. I didn't even know I wanted it, and it was great.
Yeah, there's almost like video gamey vibe it goes for, or like arcade style. Yeah, and like you said, it meshes so well with the styling. And it kind of leads the song out. Very, very strong outro, I say.
Very strong. Jump into track number 5, if you're ready.
Track number 5, TSLAMP.
T-Slamp.
T-Slamp. Which I'm assuming is an acronym for time spent looking at my phone, which he says in the song several times.
I feel like I've heard this one before.
Have you? I don't think it was, it wasn't one of the singles, so.
I don't know where I would have heard it, but I definitely remember parts of the chorus. But I can't, it's been a long time. I definitely haven't heard it within the past. When did this album came out?
2018.
2018? I probably heard it when it came out. Because it's definitely not within the past year and a half that I've heard it, I think. But it's got that little bit of deep vocoder hidden in the background again, disguised as part of the bass, which is really nice.
Oh yeah, it kind of comes back after she works out too much. They use it very sparingly, but it pops in every now and then.
Which I respect, but man, I just love vocoder so much. I wish they used it more because no one ever really uses vocoder that much anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a very particular sound. I guess it's hard to squeeze into some songs, right?
Yeah,
it's such a distinct sound, but they use it here.
They do.
And it kind of goes into this kind of sort of funky beach vibe, like if like a goth went to the beach.
I didn't really get that feeling, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, well, it's almost not like islandish, but like I'm sure there's like a musical term for the kind of like melody that goes for it, but something a little more a bit of a funk. Plus, I really like the breakdown at 145 where the strings come in and he starts singing the upper register, like this really smooth kind of weird like detour. But I really dig it.
Yeah, this song kind of goes all over, and it's good all over. Around the 3-minute mark, the acoustic has its breakdown. Right,
it's like Spanish guitar.
Yeah, like right before that, right as it's starting to come up, you realize it's been there the whole time, and then it has its little moment to shine, and that was a good moment. I like that one.
Yeah, it's like some really lightning fast plucking going on there.
There's just so many layers. It's so dense. There's so much going on in every scene.
Which is interesting because the song on the surface doesn't seem that complex. But like it kind of like any good song should, like as it goes on, like the layers that were either there or introduced like start to like bubble to the surface, and like you start to pick them out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. And then right by the very end, I noticed it was mixed a little bit heavily to the right ear, but that might have just been the fading that they did because I didn't notice it till it was ending. But yeah, I got no complaints about this song. It was great.
Yeah, it's a good on you to slump.
To slump.
And I think it's
slamp. Not slump.
To slamp. Sounds like a dictionary definition.
Yeah.
It means to slamp. No, and I think the song kind of touches on like an interesting topic of like phone addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very millennial of them.
Well, is it even millennial at this point, or is it Gen Z?
I mean, they debuted in 2002, so I'm assuming they're millennials.
Yeah, but it's just when you think of at least now at this point, when I think of general millennial, it's the average is 30s.
Yeah, and the guys in this are like
in
their 30s. So, yeah, no, Gen Z is
hang out with very many 30-year-olds.
You'll be 30 one day.
Not for a hot second.
Not for 100 years.
Yeah. I'm actually negative 70.
Oh.
Jumping to track number 6.
James. Which starts with this. The vocal selling of the song is kind of funny. It's like this very, very baritone.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one I say will get the closest to mono, but that's just because he's going so low with his vocals. And the song just like starts. Really?
No, I mean he just because it's low doesn't make it. He moves around with his vocals more so than the earlier songs. Are you tone deaf, Cooper?
I am not. Are you tone deaf?
No, I was in band for many, many years.
I played trumpet. I was third seat. Thank you.
Okay.
I do like how the song starts with like this very, very low, just James.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the deeper singing style. It sets it apart.
And while the song is like a little more low key, it does have like these little synth lines that kind of splash in every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably my favorite part of the song was at 1:45, a French horn comes in out of left field. And I'm pretty sure it's a real one. It sounded like a real one, which I was surprised because usually French horn's a very hard instrument to play, and getting somebody who can play it well is expensive.
It's almost like it's like a haunting French horn refrain. Mm. It's kind of like in the distance and kind of layered back.
Yeah, they didn't mix it. They didn't have it play regally like is usual for French horns. It was haunting. Other than that, there wasn't a ton going on instrumentally, but the drum pad and the piano provided a very good amount of support. And as it progresses, the more instruments come up from the background, so it still feels very full. It doesn't feel sparse at any point.
Yeah, these wispy vocals also kind of sneak in as well, which manages to keep the song relatively interesting, despite kind of its lower energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked the lower energy. It was kind of, we had a lot of very high power songs. It was nice to just kind of take a step back and have something a little more relaxing.
And I don't know what the song is about. I guess it's just about his friend named James.
Yeah, I very rarely listen to the vocals, apart from how they sound. If it's a lot, I feel like most of these on the album as well were more mixed for the feeling rather than what was being said.
Yeah. I don't think there's a super grand message.
Yeah. Jumping to track number 7 then.
Track
Days
number 7.
That Got Away.
Days That Got Away. Days That Got Away. It kind of starts with like a sound that kind of sounds like almost like an alien computer is booting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for this really kind of plodding, kind of disjointed, woozy drum beat. It's sort of surreal.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I was the beginning of the song. I was kind of still mourning the fact that those fun electronic noises didn't continue aside from the first 10 seconds, because I was like, oh yeah, and then they ended, and it kind of got boring. I was like, oh okay. But I really like the effect on the electronic. Man, I cannot speak today.
Ooh.
I really like the effect of the electronic guitar they got going on there. It's kind of like, I don't know. It really quickly switched. Were you listening in headphones, Cooper?
I was. It's like going from ear to ear.
Yeah, like really fast. That was and it made a really cool effect. It almost kind of made me dizzy at one point.
It's almost like ponging.
Yeah.
Back and forth. This whole song kind of throws you off your balance a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good description.
Like the audio equivalent of like heat waves, coming off of pavement. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got a very interesting sound to it. And it's, I don't know, it just kind of pulls you in and makes you lose your way, kind of.
I mean, it's essentially an instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's vocals, but they basically pop in every now and then just to say the title of the song.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest is all focused on like the more kind of synthy instrumentation.
Yeah. It's a very good song to vibe to.
It is a complete vibe song. I will say it's almost like 5 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's like, at least for me, it didn't really have much of a payoff. Maybe that wasn't the point. But it kind of felt like it was slowly building, and then the song just kind of stopped. And I would have liked to see something that was a little more, or some sort of like point that it led to.
I don't know. I kind of like the whole. It was a bit of like a respite from the rest of the album.
Yeah, it certainly is like the most. What's the term for it? Like an interlude, out of all of them. Very chill and steady to kind of beat going on here, where it almost doesn't want you to pay attention to it.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling as well.
Like it's hard to grab onto it. Slippery.
Ooh,
yeah.
Jinx.
You owe me a soda.
Ho, ho, ho.
Oh.
Jumping too
walks
far.
Into my room.
Behind you.
Yeah.
One thing left to try.
One thing left to try.
And I took this as we want to try. After listening to it, they wanted to try this new style. That's what I took it as. We've got one more style left to try.
And they're trying it.
Yeah.
Or I'm not even sure what kind of style to call this. Maybe you can articulate it better.
I don't know. It's got the very, very twangy bass with kind of ethereal synth. And they kind of switch up the vocals again, making it different than anything else. This one I felt was even more of an instrumental song than the last one, which makes it kind of hard to place.
Yeah, I mean, it did have these kind of female vocals kind of shining over it, but they're clearly not the focus of the song.
Yeah, they're almost just like another instrument. I don't know. This one, it went a lot of cool places, but for me, this one was even harder to like. I don't know.
Pin down.
Yeah, it was like trying to stare at something through fog. Like you feel it's on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't get there.
Or like one of those like eye puzzles, that like move when you like look at it. Mm-hmm. Like the harder you look at it, the more it kind of moves. Because some kind of has this like building. You don't really catch it at first, but it kind of has this building madness underneath. Or like it keeps like adding kind of these filtered surreal vocals, and then like the interpretation keeps getting heavier each chorus. That kind of leads to the end of the song. That actually feels like after like that 250 moment, kind of breaks into like almost feels like a more classic like rock song. At least to me.
Yeah.
This sort of breathing room before that wall of sound at the end.
But yeah, by the last couple of 30 seconds or so, it kind of loses me. It was kind of dissonant and annoying, and I don't know. It just it didn't vibe with me.
I still like it overall, but the ending definitely is the weakest part, because it just kind of it introduces like these nice piano chords, and you're like, oh, I wonder where they're going to go with this. If there's only 20 seconds left in the song, the song just kind of ends.
Yeah,
no, this one's all around just kind of weird.
It's
Not that I
definitely a good
dislike
song.
it, but it's an interesting one. So I guess that's what they're trying.
Yeah, one thing left to try. Jumping to track number 9.
Track number 9, When You're Small, which is like in a mellow acoustic lit song,
Yeah,
which
I
was
wasn't
unexpected.
expecting this. Yeah, it was kind of out of left field.
Almost has like a singer-songwriter vibe to it.
Yeah.
Like this really melodious, like it's the most clear vocals on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this like really strong bass underneath it. And like this piano kind of flooding along over top of it.
Yeah, it's got some electronic distortions, but for the most part it is just that piano and acoustic guitar. And I will say I'm not giving a pass on this song. They rhymed point with point. You can't do that.
Yeah, I said it sounds like a singer-songwriter song. The lyrics themselves are just, the rhymes are a little forced.
Yeah.
I noticed that too. Saying I feel small, I don't feel tall. That's not going to win you any writing awards.
Like that. At least they aren't using the same word there. They literally it was point with point.
But this song has like the vocals are a little more focused on this song than the others, just because of the sparse instrumentation. And there are those like little, like almost like metallic sounds floating by. Like synth will kind of flurry by every now and then to kind of remind you what you're listening to. But I think it does lead to a pretty satisfying payoff whenever, like at 145, it kind of breaks open to this more psychedelic, like strings and electric guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Like a mix between like a kind of classic rock ballad and maybe something like later Beatles. I really dig it.
I don't know about the later Beatles part, but yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Like in terms of like the psychedelic feel.
Mm-hmm. And it's I don't know. It was just kind of to me it was a bit blah. It was all right.
I legitimately really liked it. Maybe the beginning part's a little slow, but I think just with the payoff in the back half, and the introduction of this like the strings to piano combo, I really dig.
Yeah, I mean it's an all right song. Not my favorite, but definitely not my least favorite.
Yeah. Well, with that we can lead to the final track on the album. Track number 10, Hand It Over.
Your toes.
No. Not giving you my toes. This one has like these female vocals on top of it, or maybe higher male vocals.
I'm pretty sure they're female vocals.
It's kind of hard to tell at some points, but it's kind of went back to where the vocals are less of the importance. But it goes for a very chill kind of synthy vibe to it.
Very chill. This is a good song. This isn't ragged on this song, but I wish they had changed up the order of the album a little bit. They kind of backloaded it all with these very chill songs where the front half was very energetic. And I feel like they could have mixed that a little bit better.
Yeah, the ordering is probably not the strongest, but it is kind of interesting where they start. Honestly, She Works Out Too Much is probably the most high energy song of the album.
Yeah,
Hand It Over is probably the most low energy song of the album. So it's like a cool down the entire album, which is interesting. But I do agree where maybe mixing it up would have been better. But even then, I still kind of like this song. It's sweet as hell. It's got these vocal harmonies on top of it. It reminds me a lot of a band I like called Mild High Club, which kind of very much goes for this sort of sound. Which it's very sweet, melodic, easy breezy sound going on.
Yeah, the vocals are very hard to understand as well in this
one.
Very high. I really liked I was disappointed by the fade out, and I really liked it at the same time because there was like this tube distortion going into it.
Yeah.
And then they just swapped it for a normal fade out, which I was kind of disappointed because they were going a really cool direction, and then they just stopped and then went normal.
Yeah, no, I like the tube fade out, but I guess they just want to end it a slightly more traditionally. It's more of like that fade out to the fade out. And honestly, I think the fade outs, for a song this kind of mellow, the fade out works. It's not like, an energetic song that's just like disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a more ephemeral song that's kind of going away.
Yeah, it was a song.
Yeah, I quite liked it.
Yeah, very, very low energy though. Very chill.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the album.
It is all 10 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
A solid 44-minute album. That's about as average of a time as you can get.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think let's do least favorite first.
Least favorite first.
What's your least favorite song?
I'd probably have to say my least favorite is, out of all of them, is probably Days That Got Away. Well, I think it does do some I can't talk either. Some interesting instrumentation. Kind of like almost a vocalist song. And it kind of jumps, with kind of the funky bass, but also kind of floating along with the electronic noises. I don't know. The like a build-up kind of rubbed me the wrong way, where it's kind of makes it feel less crucial to the album or a little more skippable.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, like, it's not a bad song, but there wasn't any like element that I felt was distinctly great or exemplary.
Mm-hmm.
That made it a little more forgettable. What about you, Sam?
I can respect that. I gotta say, my least favorite is probably Little Dark Age. I don't know. It's just they do some bad things in there. The vocal line is pretty weak, and then they decide to do a dropout where it's about 20 seconds of just the vocals, which, even when the vocals are strong, that's risky, and the vocals were not strong, and it immediately was like, okay, this is pretty bad. I'm not sure why it is the first single and the title of the album when it's, in my opinion, pretty clearly the worst song that they have on here.
I don't agree with you, but I understand exactly where you're coming from with it. I like the song quite a bit more than you did. In terms of, like, I think it kind of sums up the vibe of this album, which is like this has this like dark edge, but also kind of this like brighter synthy noise, and a little humor sprinkled throughout. But I can respect you not digging the song as much.
Yeah, especially with how instrumentally lacking it is compared to every other song. Especially right after She Works Out Too Much, which is a much better song.
That is true. I do agree with that. Which goes on. What's your favorite song then?
Well, I guess I can do my favorite first.
I'll ask you first.
My favorite is probably T-Slamp. I just really liked it, There's several others. I really liked Me and Michael as well. That was a good one. But both of those kind of have similar vibes. And the ranking between those is probably very close, because I really did like that 10cc-esque sampling they had going on in Me and Michael. But T-Slamp, I don't know. Maybe it was because it was familiar that I kind of latched onto it a bit more. But it's got that nice acoustic, and it's just got a lot going on instrumentally compared to anything else on the album, which I think is kind of what drew me in as well. What about you, Keith? What was your favorite?
I agree. I also really like T-Slamp. But I'd also have to throw in She Works Out Too Much as well, as one of my favorites. Just such a fun song. It's a little goofy, but it's also like so energetic. And I think even though the vocals are a little more subdued, those kind of with the instrumentation and like the fun breakdowns, the little spoken word instructions, it's just a great like opening track. One that I have worked out to, and it works great just because of the kind of pounding rhythm that goes with it, and it has a good payoff as well. Everything builds up with that saxophone at the very end. And then also T-Slamp. I also would say that's one of my favorites, for all the same reasons you said.
Yeah, good songs. So, do you want to do the rating system this time, Cooper, or do you want me to?
I'll do the rating system.
All right, go right on ahead, sir.
So here at the audio shop, me and Sam, we were actually born as cars. Many people don't know this. We actually became humans after a witch cursed us and forced us to make this podcast for the rest of our mortal lives. So we're very, attached to the idea of cars and car-themed ratings. So that's our rating system on the left here, with our top rating being Showroom. That's the tip top. This is just a must listen album. With all the way at the bottom, you got Scrapyard, which is you don't touch this. This rating has coronavirus. It'll infect you. You don't want to listen to this album.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll give it like a high or low, kind of giving us some wiggle room. So Sam, what would you say is your rating for this album?
I've been giving this rating a lot recently, but I think I'm going to give it a fixer-upper. Maybe a little high, maybe middle. But I don't know. It's a good album, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing really that made me say, "Oh my god, you got to listen to this." Right? It's a nice kind of relaxing album. It starts a little high energy, but I feel like overall it's calmer. So yeah, I recommend listening to it, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to recommend it. It's just a nice, middle of the road kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I'll have to be a little more generous than you, Sam, and give it a low Showroom.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that's a little bit higher than what you are giving it, but I'd like to explain the fact that pretty much each song on this album I like in some capacity. Even Days That Got Away, which, like I said, is a little more forgettable. I still, dig it as a concept and as a song. And I don't know, I've listened to this album quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. And I was kind of worried when I'd sit down and kind of really dig into it, not working out or not running or something, and just sit down and listen. Mm-hmm. It'd have less of a shine on me, but I actually liked it more. I don't know, just there's these interesting instrumental vignettes. Even though the vocal stylings maybe aren't the most interesting, I think they work well with the instruments paired with them. And it's just got this kind of times kind of humorous, kind of dark edge to it. Just some good all-around electronica. So, I would very much recommend this to anyone to give it a quick listen. It might not be for everyone. Obviously, you giving it a fixer-upper, I think, is completely valid. If it doesn't vibe with you, then I can see it being a little more average album. But for me, it clicked. And I'd heartily recommend it.
Yeah, that's a much higher rating than I expected you to be giving it. But you were the one that recommended it, so I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And that is all she wrote. That's the end of the album. That's the end of the review. We're going to be rolling on over to the Spare Tire now, which is basically anything else we've been listening to aside from this album for the past week. Or I guess 2 weeks at this point since... Oh, I just broke everything.
There she goes. Our rating system.
There we go. Whoops. Spare Tire. Yeah, that thing. We just talk about whatever else we've listened to for the past 2 weeks since last week. We forgot to pick an album. Sunday rolled around and I was like, look, Cooper, what did we decide on again? I swear we thought of something.
I'm like, oh, we did it.
Oh, wait. Yeah, that was last week. All right. Well, I guess we're not doing it this week then.
Yeah, so what have you been listening to, Sam?
Pretty much ELO and Over the Garden Wall soundtrack. That's pretty much it. I don't think I've listened to anything else for the past 2 weeks.
Staying on brand, I see.
Yeah. When I drive, it's very hard to listen to anything else because if I listen to something I can sing to, the time goes by very quickly. If I listen to something I cannot sing to, the 40-minute drive feels like 40 minutes. So I want to listen to something I can sing to because then the drive feels like it's 20.
Oh, man. Time to cherish a new album every 40 minutes. Just sneak a whole album in. But I understand that. For me, I've been listening through a couple of albums I've been wanting to listen through for a while. I listened through Disintegration by The Cure, which I think was pretty great. It's kind of this post-punk kind of gothic rock album, which usually I'm not super into. Mm-hmm. But it also had this kind of brighter pop noise as well, which made it a little more inviting to me. And I quite liked it. Had basically all the emotions of a pop punk album, but also is much more listenable than some of them I've heard in the past. I also listened to Sufjan Stevens' new album, The Ascension. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Sufjan, Sam.
Not
wrote the album. The album Illinois, which is pretty popular a few years back. This was his newest album. Went a lot more electronic route, a lot more akin to his, I think it's 2012 album, Age of Ads. But it's got this interesting kind of mix of, he's like a singer-songwriter traditionally. This one's a lot more like kind of experimental electronic. I thought it led to some pretty good songs. The album was a little messy overall, but still enjoyable listen.
Well, that is what we've been listening to. You got anything else to add there, Coop?
No, that about sums it up.
Well, thank you all so much for listening to the Audio Shop podcast this week. We will probably be back next week.
Yeah.
Unless some unforeseen circumstance happens or there's a holiday or something we're forgetting.
Yeah, last week was Yom Kippur, so obviously we were tied up.
It came out of left field and didn't remember that it was that weekend. But thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you later, shoppies.
See you later, shoppies. See ya.